realized, wow, I can do and be really impactful here.
What is one thing people would be surprised to know about dentistry from your point of view?
Almost all dentists are very successful, and it's because
I love that positive spin because
all the other big companies and businesses out there that we see in our everyday life.
ADEC's Smart Start program offers first-time practice owners their deepest discounts on equipment and furniture for 2 years, plus other savings and complimentary services. Ask your ADEC rep for details and start smart with ADEC. Join Doctors Savannah Craig and Renetta Sartor as we navigate life beyond graduation. Real conversations about forging our own paths in our early years in our careers. There's a reason it's called practicing dentistry.
Welcome back to part 2 of our episode with KJ and Dr. Mark Fleming with Benco.
So for this next episode, we thought we could do some rapid fire questions and have each of you kind of give your spin. It probably won't be as rapid as we think because they're kind of tough questions, but we'll hit you both with them and go from there. How does that sound?
I didn't even have coffee yet, but sure.
I know. It's 6 a.m. It's 6 a.m. for Mark, unfortunately.
I know. He's the best. And look at him smiling. He's the best.
So I have my coffee and I got double caffeine.
Double fisting.
Yeah, it sure is.
Oh, that's incredible. All right. So how did you get into the dental field? So KJ, this will be how the heck you went from restaurants to dentistry, and Mark, what made you go to dental school? Whoever wants to start.
I guess I will. So I was working in restaurants, and notoriously restaurants is a tough gig. I was a very general manager, and I was working over 100 hours a week. I wasn't getting vacations. And so it was a personal decision for me. And I was lucky enough to have 2 family members that were in dentistry, dental sales specifically. And they were like, you'd probably be a really great office manager. And so I started there and then got into regional management, VP of operations, and really grew up my career and realized, wow, I can do and be really impactful here Monday through Friday and maybe one Saturday a month. It's not a bad gig. And then I realized I had such a passion for like the whole experience and, the kind of same sentiment that y'all were talking about earlier, just like that service mindedness, like to see a patient who like would not smile because they just felt the shame, and then to see them hold a mirror and cry, like it's like such a rewarding and emotional experience. Although it had nothing to do with the actual work itself, just to hold hands with them throughout that story and to see them come out the other side, those moments really mean a lot to me. And it's easy to partner with your dentist and help protect them in their business. So it's a really exciting world that I'm very gracious to be a part of.
Yeah, and for
grateful,
me,
not gracious.
It's early.
I need my coffee. I need my coffee.
Yeah, but I was a strange child, so I guess that's what I would say. As far as I can remember, I've always wanted to be a dentist, and I don't know why. Yeah, isn't that weird? I don't know why.
We have kindergarten art projects that say I want to be a dentist.
Oh, yeah, that's so sweet.
So that it just was something I've always wanted to do. There was never anything else I considered, and so went through.
Here we are.
Yeah, here we are. But then then of course now my career evolved in ways I never thought it would. So there you go. But no, there was nothing more than that. It's just something that was baked in. I don't have there's no family members that do it. It's just, I don't know, just sort of the way it was.
That's awesome.
So our next question is again for both of you all. What is one thing people would be surprised to know about dentistry from your point of view?
Oh gosh, this is a tough answer, but it's a real one. Is most people think they got it as a business owner, and I'm not saying you don't got it. However, there's always opportunities. And I think, sometimes you need an outside perspective to look at things objectively. And I'm even thinking of like the best athletes in the world, the Tiger Woods, the Michael Jordan, like all these elite athletes and top CEOs that are high performers. They all have coaches, right? They all have somebody who partners with them to help elevate their skill. Like they're not the best for nothing. They put the work in. They're open to that feedback. And so, you may be really successful, but there's always opportunities, right? Like nothing is perfect, and that's okay. We're not here to tell you that you're not the best, you're not this, you're not that. However, we do want to elevate and ensure that we can increase metrics for you and behaviors. There's a lot of things like that out there in the world, but yeah, there's always something. That's what I find.
I love that.
And I would just say, yeah, kind of dovetailing on that, I just say that dentists are just, in general, and I'm saying this as a dentist, but are terrible business owners. But I mean, seriously, that's what it is.
That's harsher than mine.
Yeah, but it's such a good career that almost all dentists are very successful, and it's because there's a lot of leeway here. It's not like you're running like a restaurant where the margins are so tight. If you make one wrong turn, you are in big trouble. Dentistry is not that way. So this is a great profession, a safe profession, but it could be so much more. And again, it's just like all the other big companies and businesses out there that we see in our everyday life. Do you think they just have one person who's wearing all the hats and that's an expert on all things that they do? It's not that way. And as a dentist, we think we have to like be in charge of everything. And it's like, just identify like, hey, I'm good at this. I'm good at clinically. I can do all the dentistry. I'm not good at accounting. Okay, fine. Well, then hire an accountant. I mean, just you don't have to wear all the hats, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because we are not skilled in all these areas. It's just not the way our dentist brains work. Naturally, we're good with our hands. We're intelligent. We have these other things, but we're not necessarily good on maybe the business side.
Yeah, we like to think we can do it all, but
right.
We can't.
We can't. You don't have time to do it all either. That's the other thing. Even if you are good at it, when are you going to do all this? And so it's not going to be done well or properly.
Yeah. All right. Next one. How would you say the dental landscape has changed since COVID?
I think the only thing I can think of, and this may feel like a joke, but people are sick of Zoom. I could tell you that. I think also what's really cool about our industry is that we have learned that we can survive all sorts of things within the markets, right? So all of these shifts, kind of being in limbo, not knowing what the future holds, people were still coming into the dentist. Unfortunately, most of that maybe was emergencies, right? There was a lot of unknown, but it's really cool to see how resilient dentistry is and how necessary it is. I think if anything else, it came out stronger on the other side. And Zoom is, I wouldn't be investing in it today, but like at that time, it would have been really smart.
Do you like candlelit dinners?
Do you like late night walks on the beach?
Do you want to watch the sunrise over your own lakefront property?
Do you want slow mornings?
Do you want afternoon yoga classes whenever you want?
Do you want peace of mind?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, help us build the self-determined future you're looking for. Check out Ignite DDS Coaching.
Mention Beyond Graduation Podcast for a free consultation with Ignite DDS Coaching.
That would be my answer, though, is just the resilience. I think it's pretty incredible.
I love that positive spin because I don't know, I expected far more negative, so I love that. I love that so much.
I didn't have my coffee, but I'm a pretty positive gal.
I was a COVID grad, so...
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, so... I have some feelings, but that's okay.
Yeah. You got some things to work out. Fair enough.
Yeah, I'd only add that I agree with KJ that I think that everything. I mean, practices are resilient. They've rebounded. I think things are pretty much back to normal again pre-COVID, except for maybe with staffing. I think everyone took a huge hit with staffing, and so we're still navigating what that's going to look like. And there's going to obviously the industry, things are going to be changing here because there is such a challenge in not only finding quality staff, but finding any staff really, especially in some areas like hygiene and things like that. So that is a challenge, but it's not the first time in our industry where we've had staffing issues. So this does happen in cycles, and we are in one of those periods right now.
It's actually dental assistants right now is the toughest.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah.
Okay, so our next question is there a future for the solo practitioner and private practice owner versus DSO?
Great question. I think resoundingly yes. I think there's a lot of things going on right now. Most businesses fail from overconsumption. And what I mean by that is if you look at Wendy's, right, they're closing down how many of these things. You look at, there's so many business models like this. I don't want to name them all because I don't want to get like a cease and desist or anything. But like, it's overconsumption, or like I've seen that in startups, right? Where you take on too much, you're not providing the quality service, there's no support. So, hey, maybe this isn't working the way it was supposed to, and I can't get anybody on the phone or to come to my office. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. Yeah, sorry, I have so many thoughts around this, but Mark, why don't you go next? Because I can keep going. But I think without a doubt, there is always a place for an independent practice owner. And I think too, if you look at our patient base and how people feel when they go into a family-owned business, it's a significantly different experience than, oh, maybe I thought this was family owned, but then I found out it's corporate because I can't get somebody on the phone. Like there's some goofy nuances there. And there's definitely a space, not just from the family aspect versus DSO, but like we haven't really gotten into this healthcare model where most hospitals are privately owned. Like we're not there. And I think knowing dentists the way that I do today, I think there's always a space, even if it shifts, right? Even if it's 30% instead of the 80% that it used to be back in the day. I really do think there will always be a space for an independent owner.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, it seems like the corporate dentistry dominates our field, dominates dentistry. And the reality is it doesn't. I mean, it's essentially the same market share today as it was 10 years ago. So it feels like they popped up everywhere. But the reality is there's still significant majority of practices are individually owned. And I don't see that changing in the long term because of the patient experience and how dental insurance is set up. It's a different ball game than the medical side. What you will see more of now, and there will become more of a segment. It'll still be individually owned, but it'll be maybe a multi-doctor practice, because there are benefits in having higher volumes with dealing with the extra costs of it, dealing with all the insurance companies and things like that. You could help be more profitable sometimes with a higher volume. So you'll see dentists getting together and having a multi-doctor practice, but they still will be individually owned as opposed to a corporate model. And we're seeing a lot more of that, like merging together. So there's going to be a lot of exciting opportunities, but there's always going to be pathways to be an individual owner.
One call out too, the ADA just released this statement, and I think this is a great example of representing your question, which was they're still owners. They're just taking about 9 years longer than what we've seen in the past decade.
Yeah.
So there's a lag too. So there's a lot of these nuanced components. And I think between those three thoughts that we threw out there, I think that kind of ties together the feel of the market.
Right.
So this is kind of piggybacking off of what you were saying, Dr. Fleming, about partnerships. At one point, there was a statistic out there that said, most partnerships fail. Are we seeing a change in that? What are your thoughts on partnerships, or, the ones that you have seen that have been successful? What's been the key ingredient that you didn't see in ones that maybe failed?
Right. That's a great question. And I'll say this also ties exactly to associateships. So most associateships fail too. And it's for the same reasons, really. So the reason the partnerships fail, associateships fail, is because they're not planned. Again, it goes back to the planning thing. It's sort of a knee-jerk reaction. Two dentists say, "Oh yeah, we should be partners." And again, there's no plan. What's the goal? Like, where are we even aligned on where we're going to take this thing once we become partners? No, they didn't really have a whole lot of discussion about that. Legally, did we set this thing up so that it makes sense? Are we compatible to work together? I mean, there's a lot of variables when you have people working together. Like, who gets to call the shots? What do we do if have differing opinions on where we should go? So it's something that if it is planned out properly, they work wonderfully. It's same with associateships. If it's not planned out, they're almost always going to fail. So again, it's all about the front end on this and having the right people together in the right situation. It's not just a cookie cutter. This is what you do. You put two people together and it's a magic, and now we save money because we're working together. Well, then what you get is you have two people kind of office sharing, which is the worst possible scenario. And eventually they get mad at each other and they break up, and it's messy. So it's very, very important on something like that to know what you're getting into.
So KJ, that question was for you too, because I see the facial expressions. I love to know
No,
your thoughts.
I actually, honestly, I think because Mark and I have worked together for the past 3 years, I share the same sentiment. I'm not sure I would add much to that, because the thing is, you want these things to work out for them, but I can't tell you how many phone calls we've gotten where it's like, hey, and it might be legally binding, where it's really difficult to get them out of it. And it ends up being a mistake that is almost as costly as maybe a divorce. He said breakup, but genuinely, like, the impact of that, I just want to call that out, is the planning is critical here, because the financial ramifications are significant. And I can't tell you how many phone calls or people we're consulting to help them get out of these kind of situations, right?
Can you give us maybe one or two thoughts or questions so I'm in a group practice. I have opportunity to partner into the practice. There are multiple other partners in the group. So this thing has been already set up, but what things should I be thinking of? What questions should I be asking my boss before we literally get married in a business sense?
I would definitely get I would get evaluation for sure, without a doubt. I would definitely have, your professional partners. We were talking about CPAs, lawyers, that sort of thing. Get your people. Like, somebody can sell you the world, right? But the reality is, you need to go in. Nobody's going to protect your career the way that you will. So treat it that way. Like, you are your own organization. And it's not that, we don't have good intentions. However, most people are looking out for their own interest, not with the bad intent, but just subconsciously, right? We want to protect our own keep. And so I would absolutely get evaluation that is not the same person that did the initial one, to really understand what that is. I would certainly lawyer up with the contractor, have a professional who can consult you on that. And you're potentially going to need to negotiate terms, right? There's a lot of these nuances within the agreements. Also, like, what happens if somebody owns a higher percentage, or what happens if, who owns the staff if, so, let's say 3 people quit in a day, or something like absurd. But there's like these worst case scenarios that you need to make sure you have a true partnership in. And so it's best to have a professional outsider help, just so that they can really protect you and your business as an individual.
Yeah, and I would add too, like, just because you work in the office doesn't mean you really know what's going on behind the scenes too. So again, that's where it's important. Like how the office functions on a day-to-day level. You don't know financially what's going on. You don't know what discussions are happening with ownership when you're not around. And so there could be a whole other dark side to this that you have no idea.
That's honest.
Right. So due diligence is obviously critical. In a partnership, you'll have what's called an operating agreement typically, which is basically the rules that you're going to play by. That's the critical piece to this, is like, okay, what are we doing with this practice? What are the rules? Like, how do we make decisions? What do we do when someone was going to retire? Where is this going down the road, so that, hey, if I'm investing in this, what am I going to get out as a return? And at some point, am I going to be able to sell my share and get my equity out? Because that's, the benefits of being an owner are great. There's a lot of different things. One, you're going to get some passive income there, because you're going to get income from the profits of the practice above and beyond what you're currently getting paid. You're going to get tax benefits that you wouldn't get as just an associate. When you're just an employee, you're just paying a tax like everybody else. When you're an owner, there's more deductions. So you take more of those dollars, stay home to you in your pockets. And then you're building equity. So at some point you're going to sell that. And if the practice keeps growing, that's like a really nice investment. Now I'm selling this at a high level when I'm ready to retire or move to something else. So you're building on 3 different fronts. So it can be very good, but you have to see exactly what is their formulation for how this is all going to work. And they're all different. And it just depends on how they set that up in the beginning. So that's where the due diligence really plays a huge part.
That was awesome. I appreciate both of you. All right, we've got 2 last little questions because we want to be respectful of your time. Can you dispel one myth in the dental field? So something that maybe a lot of people believe that can be patient things, or other, or business things. What's if you had to pick like your one thing to be your mission to end this myth in dentistry, what would that be?
Well,
Mark, you
I
look
guess
like
I
you
can go
got one.
first. There's so many to pick from, but I'll pick something that we haven't talked about yet too much, and I'd say financing. Like, one of the things you think of as a myth in dentistry is, oh, I'm just graduated from school, I can't get financing, or I have a lot of student debt, I can't get financing for
Love
whatever it is I
this.
want to do, partnership, buying, whatever. That's not true at all. That isn't part of the equation. Dental financing you can get for acquisitions, typically 100% of what you're trying to do with no money down. So you're not paying out of pocket. Because again, obviously, as a recent grad or a new grad, you probably don't have a lot of liquidity in your portfolio there to put down a big amount of money. So financing is something that you can get, and you can get what you need. There's limitations, obviously, and you have to be a match. So like the bank would want to know, hey, if you're right out of school, if you want to go right into buying a practice, I know it's not common, but some people do it. You can get a loan to do that. You can't buy a huge practice. You can't come into like a $2 million practice right out of school, but you could get a smaller practice and you could get financed for that piece. So I think that's probably one of the biggest myths. And the other thing too is, like, you just need to be careful. So when you're just graduating, maybe you get your first associate job and you want to be buying here within a year or two. Don't go buy a house. Don't go buy a bunch of cars. I mean, you need, no, I know you want to. I know you really, really want to, but you need to put that off. If your goal is to purchase something soon, because you're going to need liquidity for that. And that doesn't mean you're going to put money down, but it means you need to have some savings. So you can't spend all your savings right off the gate and not have not $1 in the bank. So I would try to refrain from large purchases. And you should be fine with qualifying for financing.
Mine's going to be all around HR, to be very honest with you. So yeah, that's where I'm going to go. So just because, and a testament to my story, I'm here because somebody took a risk on me, right? They figured out that my background would translate very well as an office manager to start. And so don't get stuck thinking that somebody needs to have all this experience, because sometimes that could end up not being the right fit. So ensuring that you're also asking the right questions. Don't cheap out on a background check. Don't cheap out on not having a handbook. Protect yourself, protect your people, and don't get stuck thinking some things are impossible, because sometimes that could be the person who, helps change the culture, is sending your message, somebody that you can really trust, who can run that business for you so you can focus on the things that you do best, right? Mark, you said dentists are intelligent. They're good with their hands and they take care of the patients, right? They're doing the treatment itself. You need somebody who could do the counterpart of that, ensuring that insurances get submitted on time, clean claims so you get reimbursed quickly. So spend time finding the right person, not just a body to fill a seat, and protect your business, have a handbook, and you need to do background checks.
Hire slow, fire fast, right?
Yes.
Oh, girl, yeah, you've been reading books. Hell yeah. Yes.
So our last question for you both is one piece of advice you leave to us dentists out here.
Well, again, I know I've said it a number of times already, but it's have a plan. It really is. I mean, because all these topics we talked about almost are all come back to having a plan, and be honest with yourself. Don't create the goals for your plan that are realistic and are where you want to be, but where you could actually get to, not necessarily what you've heard. Oh, well, this is how you're supposed to do it, or what other dentists are doing. You got to take your own journey, your own pathway. There's no right or wrong, but you do want to have a plan for this. So that's the biggest mistake I see. And I see it every day in what I do. I see it from the very beginning, like what we're talking about. I also see it at the very end, where someone calls me, says, I'm ready. I got to retire. I'm ready to retire today. And you start talking to them and like, yeah, they're only working 1 day a week now. And no, you basically retired 5 years ago. You just didn't admit it. And so now what do? They've made a lot of mistakes. They made it very challenging to then transition out of that practice. And same with transitioning in. So planning would be, you got to plan.
It's good. I think mine would be, don't be afraid to ask for help. Mark was talking about this map and this graph that really translates well into most, general dentists, general practitioners. And throughout those milestones, whether it's hey, I want to get placed, I don't really, I want to vet the right doctor to work with, I want to be in the right practice, to what Mark just attested to, like, hey, you don't have enough cash flow to really sell a business here, right? So don't be afraid to ask for help at any point in your career, and find true partners who really want to see you be successful and care about you being successful and providing those tools to allow you to do so. So it's okay. We're all humans. Trust me, we all need help. So that would be my advice.
This has been wonderful. You guys have been so positive and helpful, and even bright and early on a Saturday morning. We could not appreciate you more for spending some time with us. Can you tell our listeners where to find you?
I would say we do have a website. That's, for starters, benco.com. And then under solutions, we have our own little ditty. We have a lot of articles in Incisal Edge magazine that goes out. And then we have our email, and we're soon going to have a LinkedIn, Mark, which we are thrilled about. That will be exciting. But I think our email would probably be the best. I don't know, Mark, am I thinking in the wrong way?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'd say you can reach out through our website, email. If you know your local rep, you can reach out through them too. And we're always our door's always open. We're always happy to have conversations. So, and there's no obligation, no charge. Or just call us, talk to us, let us figure out where you're at, what your needs are, and then we can then direct you into how to get the help that you need for whatever your situation is, because everyone's going to have a different needs, and just start by having that first conversation. That's all it is. It could be a 15-minute phone call, and it's not a big deal. It's not scary. It doesn't cost you anything. Just do it, because you need to start thinking about these and making time to have these plans, and get your career path figured out and have the help that you need to be successful.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again. And listeners, feel free to email Renetta or I, or DM us, and we can help connect you to Mark and KJ. So
thank you for joining us for this episode of Beyond Graduation. If you enjoyed this week's episode, be sure to share it with a friend. Connect with us on social media at Savannah Craig DDS and at Dr._Sartor. And remember, you are not alone on this journey.
ADEC certified pre-owned equipment is a sustainable, affordable choice that makes genuine ADEC equipment available to every doctor. Each package is sold on a first-come, first-served basis. So, if you see one you like, contact your dealer. For more information, go to www.adec.com/find a dealer. Thank you for listening to Beyond Graduation, brought to you by Ignite DDS and Future Dentists. This episode was sponsored by Ignite DDS Coaching. We build self-determined futures. For more information, please reach out to the Ignite DDS team.